harsh reality is that the generations after millennials are facing a greater financial burden than their parents, leaving them with bleak prospects for building wealth. Welcome to Simply Economics. If you want us to produce more educational content such as this one, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Growing up, we were told that if we worked hard, good things would happen. But for many young people entering the workforce today, that simply isn't the case. Even with a college degree or advanced certification, they are finding it increasingly difficult to break out of poverty. This problem is especially pronounced in the US, but similar trends are being seen around the world. So what's going on here? It's time to take a closer look at the harsh reality of how generations are becoming poorer than their parents. Why younger generations are poorer. Federal Reserve data reveal that baby boomers have the highest control over household wealth in the United States, accounting for 50.4%. Meanwhile, millennials collectively control about 6.6% of the total household wealth in the country as of 2022. According to a report by the St. Louis Fed, people born in the 1980s have 34% less wealth than their parents did when they were at the same age, based on the study of past wealth cycles. This is worrying because the speed at which assets appreciated in the recent period is not likely to continue in the near future. The main reasons for the wealth gap appear to be the high costs and economic downturns. Due to the 2008 financial crisis, millennials started working at a time when their lifetime earnings potential was greatly reduced. Millennials are unable to build wealth through real estate because it has become too expensive, unlike their parents who were able to do so. Myth versus reality. Throughout history, there has been a pattern of people criticizing younger generations. This behavior may be a natural part of being human. According to Peter O'Connor, a management professor at Queensland Institute of Technology in Australia, the habit of adults denigrating young people's character has existed for centuries. According to him, the stereotype is still prevalent, as research indicates that many Americans think that young people today lack certain positive qualities that older generations have. However, this perception does not necessarily reflect the reality, as researchers believe that we tend to project our current selves onto our past selves. This behavior unconsciously causes older people to make a comparison between their current selves and today's youth, which creates an impression that the youth of today is somehow less capable than previous generations, regardless of the era we are in. Age-old standards and conventions. Is there a way to measure if older generations are actually more productive and more prosperous than younger generations? According to studies, some experts believe that recent graduates of universities have exhibited more traits associated with low resilience compared to those who graduated prior to 1987, specifically with regard to the millennial generation graduating between 2004 and 2008. Additionally, research has shown an increase in neuroticism and a need for recognition among younger generations, while a 2012 study suggested that youths may be more self-centered than previous generations. Many experts do not believe that these measures indicate that younger generations are weaker than older ones. Rather, they see them as a means of evaluating a generation that has been influenced by modern, technology-based society in comparison to past decades. But does the younger generation make less money than their parents? While the American dream suggests that anyone who works hard can become successful, in reality, financial security is not always guaranteed, especially for those who are not part of the wealthy elite. Despite working hard, achieving upward social mobility has become increasingly rare. Recent data show that younger generations comprised of millennials and Gen Z are not earning as much as their parents did. This raises questions about whether the dream of achieving financial growth is still achievable for many people. It's not surprising that Gen Z and millennials are struggling financially when you take into account factors like stagnant wages, high student loan debt, and ongoing issues with racial and economic inequality. However, experts suggest that our financial decisions and attitudes can have a big impact on our overall quality of life both now and in the future. Why financial inequality persists? Financial inequality is a complex issue that has been around for centuries. It can be attributed to many reasons, such as income inequality, debt accumulation, and lack of access to resources. Income inequality has taken center stage in the United States since the Great Recession in 2008. A report by Oxfam America organization found that incomes have not increased or even kept up with inflation for most people since then. This means that those who are already wealthy were able to increase their wealth while everyone else struggled. Debt accumulation also contributes to financial disparities between generations. Millennials and Gen Z are burdened with increasingly high levels of student loan debt due to rising college costs over the past decade. Many young adults are unable to pay off these debts, leaving them unable to invest in assets like real estate or start a business. Furthermore, access to resources is another factor that perpetuates financial inequality. Small businesses are often left out of government aid programs, and minority-owned businesses suffer the most due to systemic racism. Therefore, those who live in primarily white neighborhoods can still access resources more easily than others, leading to further financial disparities between generations. The growing generational wealth gap. The generational wealth gap refers to the difference in the amount of wealth that one generation accumulates compared to another. Wealth is usually saved or invested and can include assets like real estate. The Federal Reserve measures the overall wealth accumulated by each age group across generations. The younger generation is still carrying on the tradition of amassing and receiving wealth as they become independent adults. But there has been a shift in the speed at which this is happening. Federal Reserve data from the past 30 years show that older generations in the United States have been accumulating wealth at a faster rate than younger generations, whereas in the past, household wealth was evenly distributed among age groups. Why is there a generational wealth gap? It's important to note that a certain level of wealth disparity between two generations is typical and anticipated before we explore why the generational wealth gap exists. Consider Gen Z as an example. Since most of them are below the age of 25, they haven't started working yet. Hence, it's not reasonable to expect them to have amassed a significant amount of wealth. In contrast, their parents, who belong to the Gen X generation, have been working for many years and have had the time to pay off debts while earning, saving, and investing their money. Therefore, it's no surprise that Gen X owns more wealth than Gen Z overall. What is the wealth gap in America? The wealth gap between baby boomers, who are mostly 60 and older, and millennials or Gen Z, who are mostly 40 and younger, has almost doubled since the 1960s and 1970s. While it's understandable for older generations to have more wealth due to more time to accumulate it, the difference in wealth between boomers and younger generations is unprecedented. People in their 20s and 30s have experienced a decline in wealth. According to a research study conducted by the University of Bonn in Germany, individuals across all generations usually start with roughly 1.5 times their income in terms of wealth by age 30. By age 60, most people accumulate wealth equivalent to 5 to 6 years of their income. However, baby boomers born from 1940 to 1960 had 10 times their income by age 60. Therefore, on average, older baby boomers were 65% wealthier than previous generations when they retired. The study shows that there is a significant rise in wealth disparity between different age groups. This puts younger generations at a disadvantage when it comes to saving and accumulating wealth. Millennials graduated during the Great Recession and have been burdened by student loan debts, making it challenging to improve their economic mobility. The current housing crisis and high inflation rates may also lead to another recession, making it even more difficult for young Americans to build wealth. As of 2021, the wealth gap in America has reached $54.77 trillion. Bloomberg reports that millennials only possess 4.6% of America's wealth, which amounts to $5.19 trillion, whereas boomers hold a whopping 53.2%, equivalent to $59.96 trillion. Boomers are 10 times wealthier than millennials and twice as wealthy as Gen X. Evolution of money mindsets. The younger generation faces many challenges in achieving the same quality of life as previous generations, including socioeconomic oppression, inflation, changing lifestyles, and attitudes towards money. Buying homes and getting loans approved have become much more expensive now, and the cost of living has increased tremendously. Although salaries have increased overall, they haven't kept a consistent rate with inflation, leading to wage stagnation. The contrast between then and now only intensifies with shrinking pensions and an uncertain Social Security landscape. The biggest contrast between the younger generation today and their grandparents is their attitude towards money. Unlike their elders who prioritize saving and are often hesitant to incur debts or spend money, the younger generation tends to have a different perspective towards financial matters. The current senior population in America grew up during the Great Depression and learned to save money instead of spending it to avoid poverty and the fear of another economic downturn. It is suggested that social media and pop culture pressures may influence many of the financial decisions made by millennials, both consciously and unconsciously. The meaning of success has evolved from simply owning a home and having children to include factors such as fashion, travel, and larger-scale homeownership. Today's young adults may choose to spend money more freely than previous generations did, possibly due to their uncertain outlook on the future. Splurging on big purchases gives them a sense of meaning and value during difficult times. How can young people thrive despite the wealth gap? Although wealth inequality in America can be discouraging and scary, we can make progress by changing how we think about financial success. According to economist Robert J. Shiller, it's important to believe that everyone can fulfill their potential and be recognized for who they truly are, regardless of their income or assets. One of the best ways to bridge this wealth gap is to invest in yourself. Developing new skills, building a good credit score, and learning how to manage your money responsibly can help you build wealth over time. Additionally, taking advantage of tax credits and other savings programs can make a significant difference in your financial health. It's also important to focus on creating multiple streams of income that will provide stability should any one stream be disrupted. Investments in stocks or real estate are great options for long-term growth potential and retirement planning. Finally, having a mentor who understands personal finance could give you the necessary guidance and resources to boost your financial security and create an opportunity for generational wealth accumulation. We should not measure our success based on the financial histories of our parents or grandparents. Instead, it may be more beneficial to focus on our collective human potential, which goes beyond material possessions and money. The generational wealth gap in America and in the world is growing at an alarming rate, leaving young people with fewer resources to build their own financial security. The current economic crisis has further exacerbated the problem, and it is important that policymakers take steps to create more equitable policies that will help bridge this gap. We must also strive to improve our financial literacy as individuals so that we can make smarter decisions about how to manage our money and build lasting wealth. By doing so, we can ensure that the dream of achieving financial growth is still achievable for all generations. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future content. We truly appreciate your support. See you in the next one.